The sixth and final icon that we want to introduce to you today in our overview video series is the Toolkit. And this toolbox allows you to put in your toolkit what is necessary for you to successfully implement, align, and fulfill your vision. Now, many people who help you with vision ideas or vision development will borrow a concept, usually from a secular organization, and bring it to the church ministry, and then the church ministry struggles with the implementation. I've been guilty of doing that as a pastor for some 20 years of my 25 years in ministry, until I began to realize that there are some unique things, some customized things when it comes to implementation that have to be developed and designed for the church ministry. One of those things that we try to help a church do is roll out the vision in a way in which it is receivable. The reality is, Aubrey Malphurs described for us many years ago that there are early adopters that bring excitement very quickly to a new mission and a new vision. There are middle adopters, those who have to be convinced. There are those late adopters that seem to be a drag, and then there are those never adopters who always want to do their own thing and honestly keep you honest in ministry. I think Paul referred to them sometimes as his thorn in the flesh. We laugh at that concept, but the reality is we live with those challenges. And the idea is that you have to hold the hand of this new vision that has been birthed as you lead it through its infancy stage, to its crawling stage, to its walking stage, and then to its running stage. The idea is that we want to run into the vision. But the reality is we have to nurture along those people at various stages and with different God-given gifts and abilities and personalities, and develop them in such a way where they have buy-in and participation in the vision that we are leading the church to embrace. Now, in order to roll out the vision in step one, what we try to do is develop a leadership summit with the church, either through the cohort or the consultation or the intensive, and we develop a plan for what that leadership summit will look like, what kind of information is shared with the church leadership, and how we are asking them to buy into and understand the vision that is being presented. We also think in terms of the rollout to the entire church once we have begun to let the vision and mission take root within the leadership of the church. And what we're looking for is that place where there is a gathering of people who have a like heart and a like mind, and they begin to rally behind the vision and begin to indicate through the new culture that's being established, or the successful fulfillment of the vision, or maybe how the strategy began to show itself to work within individual people's lives, and momentum begins to build as we tell stories of how God is at work through the implementation of this strategy and the alignment of this mission. We take a second step beyond the initial phase, and we really try to align the ministries of the church, even the systems that those ministries use within the church, in order to help them begin to practice the rhythm and the routine of the mission, the vision, the values, and the strategy. And when that routine begins to take root, what begins to happen is a natural alignment begins to reveal itself within the church. Now again, in the systems development, the organizational development, there is about a 3-year period of time where full adoption is taking place. The idea goes back to what an earlier session referred to as the most fruitful years in a pastor's life, being years 4 through 8. The idea is that it takes some time for the rhythm and the routine to really take root. And during these years, the early years of your new vision being cast, you have to develop and continually refocus upon and realign to those patterns that you have set and established within your vision work. The implementation, of course, comes down to not only what the vision team does and what the staff team does, but really down to what the church member does. And so from preaching to the values being re-evaluated and relived and spoken again into committee meetings and training events and seminars and sermons and Sunday school groups and curriculum, the integration of these concepts becomes key. And as we build out your toolkit, we'll be talking in terms of the literature that you study in small group. We'll be talking about annual assessments and evaluations. We'll talk about year 2 and year 3 of your annual plan. We'll talk about how you budget for success. If you do a staff retreat or a staff planning time, how you utilize that time. If you have certain drains on your church's ministry that are preventing you either budget-wise or perhaps time-wise, we go into a hard decision matrix and look at what those hard decisions are and help you to find the time in creative ways to give your team and your leadership the necessary amount of time to work on the vision and mission of the church while still fulfilling many of those expectations that perhaps members have grown accustomed to over the course of their years of experience within the church ministry. When I say that, one of the things that I have in mind is the pastoral care ministry within a church. One of the churches that I have led through a revitalization process wrestled deeply and greatly with consuming all of their pastor's time with pastoral care, and not leaving enough time for the strategy and the ministry of sharing the gospel and making disciples to actually take root. And so what we did is we stepped back in our implementation plan and we reworked a 7-tiered approach to pastoral care that didn't involve the pastor at level 1, but involved the pastoral staff at level 3 and 4, and allowed the staff to put together a ministry plan for caring for people. Quite honestly, when I did that, I thought this will be one of the most controversial things I've ever done. But I thankfully heard back from our church that 6 months into the process, they felt like they were receiving better care than they had ever received from the church ministry before, because we had stepped back and designed a plan that allowed our staff to do what only our staff could do and care for people in a way that only the full measure of the congregation could do. You see, those kinds of creative ideas and implementation will help you to secure the necessary focus that's required to fulfill a new vision and mission and launch a new curve for revitalization and church development and spiritual growth. But if you just have a vision without a plan for implementation, it'll just become either a dream or a drudgery as you pursue those things without implementation. This 6th portion of our Refocus process, the concluding portion, really launches that new journey of a spiritual work that we know and believe that God continues to want to do within His church as He desires to do more than we know to ask or imagine.